Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. I want to talk about Taylen Green because I do think this is an interesting storyline and an interesting aspect to this game. You probably know who Taylen Green is. He's the quarterback for Arkansas. He's 6'6", 230 pounds. He's a great athlete. He's from Louisville, Texas, went up to Boise State, and he was a starting quarterback there for 2 seasons, his redshirt freshman season of 2022 and then his redshirt sophomore season of 2023. That first year as a redshirt freshman, he kind of did what you would imagine a 6'6", great high school athlete Boise State quarterback would do. He ran a lot, he was super productive, and he wasn't extremely efficient through the air. That sounds like what a redshirt freshman quarterback who's a really good athlete would be. That year, in 10 starts, he completed 61% of his throws, about 200 yards per game. He ran for over 100 yards 3 different times in games. He had 24 total touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He was named the Mountain West Freshman of the Year for those contributions as a redshirt freshman at Boise. His next year, he didn't really take a step forward. He completed worse, 57% of his throws. He threw for 146 yards per game. He threw for 11 touchdowns and threw 9 interceptions. And then he ran for 436 yards on 6 yards per carry, and he added 9 rushing touchdowns. But he did not progress as a passer. Well, Bobby Petrino gets the offensive coordinator job at Arkansas, and they got to go get a quarterback because KJ Jefferson's leaving. And he identifies Taylen Green, and they bring him in. And keep in mind, and I don't want to make the obvious comparison here because he coached him in college, but Bobby Petrino took Lamar Jackson when nobody really wanted Lamar Jackson to play quarterback, and look what the result was of that. He's not afraid to take a really good athlete and try to make them into a more productive passer. And while the numbers aren't markedly better this year, I would argue the performance has been better because he's doing it against better competition. Through his first 6 games this year, Taylen Green is completing 57% of his throws for 251 yards per game, 5 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He's run the ball 81 times, so he's running it double-digit times most weeks, for 326 yards and 4 touchdowns. What I'm doing for the purposes of Taylen Green's statistics is I'm going to throw out Arkansas Pine Bluff, who Andrew Hutchinson just told us 20 minutes ago is one of the worst college football teams he's ever seen. And apologies to Coach Dilfer. I'm going to toss UAB out the window too because they're also atrocious. I just want to look at Oklahoma State, Auburn, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. And when I look at those statistics and I watch the highlights of those games, I think he played well in 3 of the games. Against Oklahoma State, inarguably, Taylen Green played a great football game. He threw for 416 yards and a touchdown. He ran for 61 more on 18 carries. They put up a ton of yards and a ton of points. Now, Oklahoma State's not great, but when you throw for 416 yards and you run for 61 more, like that's a great day at the office. Taylen Green was great in that game. They played Auburn on the road, and I would suggest this was a bad game from Taylen Green. Now, there's a caveat to that. He completed only 12 of 27 throws. It's not like Auburn has got Darrelle Revis and Deion Sanders running down back there. Okay, Auburn doesn't beat anybody. So 12 of 27 is not good. 151 yards. He turned it over twice with 2 interceptions. He did run it 18 times for 80 yards, which is very productive. But I don't think he was very good against Auburn. I thought he was good against A&M and good against Tennessee, and those are 2 good defenses. Against A&M, he threw for 279 and a touchdown, did throw a pick. He was 23 of 41, which is just a tick over 50%. That's not that great, but he just doesn't complete a lot of percentage of his throws. He just doesn't. It's never been his MO. He's been a starting quarterback for 2.5 years. He's a 60% completion kind of guy. And then against Tennessee last week, 19 of 27 is pretty good. 266 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He also didn't get the running game going in that one either before he got hurt and left the game. But in those games, he's completing 57% of his throws. He's throwing for 278 a game. 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, not great, but he has run for 99 yards, including 80 in the Auburn game. Here's the thing that very much stands out about Taylen Green when you watch him on the highlight reel and they play. Bobby Petrino is doing a very, very good job of making things a little easier for Taylen Green. Green spends a ton of time in bootlegs and half rolls. Why? Well, it's pretty easy because that cuts the field in half, makes your read easier. And if you don't like what you see and you're already rolling out, just run. And he does. And he runs it a lot. 18 times against Oklahoma State, 18 times against Auburn, 13 times against A&M. Like, he's going to run a lot. And he's not going to complete a huge percentage of his throws. But you have to deal with his athleticism. We can't know today, sitting here on Thursday, what Taylen Green's health status is going to be. Andrew Hutchinson said he's going to play. Based on the fact that he wasn't on the injury report yesterday, he's going to play. Sam Pittman said yesterday on the teleconference that he's not to full speed yet. We hope he will be. My guess is when he wakes up on Saturday and he gets on the bus to go to the stadium on Saturday, he'll have a little discomfort in his knee. He'll feel it, but he'll be able to go on adrenaline and play a little bit. Now, when you take that first shot, who knows? All bets are off for anybody at that point. But I think he's able to play, and I don't think he's going to be massively compromised. This isn't going to look like Mahomes running around on one leg in that playoff run. Green will be okay after a week off with a bone bruise on his knee. But LSU is going to have to do a really good job, especially on the edges. Braden Swinson, Savion Jones, Deshaun Woback, Major Burns, all these guys that are on the edges for LSU have to realize you're going to see a lot of boots, and if you rush too far up the field and get beyond the quarterback, he'll just take off. That doesn't do you any good. Trying to fly off the edge and get back there and create a huge sack like you would against Jackson Dart or Miller Moss doesn't do you as much good against Taylen Green. Jackson Dart and Miller Moss will kill you from the pocket if given the chance. They're veteran. They're accurate. They complete a high percentage of throws. They throw for 3,500, 4,000 yards. That's who they are. Taylen Green's not going to kill you standing in the pocket. He's not. He might complete some passes, and Armstrong's been good for him, and Satania's a good athlete, and he might complete some. He's not inept back there, but he's not going to dissect you. He will if you fly at the field too fast and let him just start running. And Braden Swinson met with the media on Tuesday, and he talked about, one of the things Coach Peoples has told us a lot in pass rush is don't rush past the quarterback. You rush from underneath the quarterback, and that is something you can do. Arkansas does allow some pressures and some sacks. Taylen Green will hold on to the ball a little bit. If you look at sacks allowed, they're 11th in the SEC, meaning only 5 teams are worse. They allow 2.3 a game. Tennessee and actually not Tennessee. It was Auburn and Oklahoma State and A&M all got back there 3 times and sacked Taylen Green. And I think LSU will be able to get back there and make some plays if he holds on to the ball because he doesn't like the picture he sees. But you can't just let him off the hook by running. That's too easy for him. Make him beat you throwing it. That means lane integrity, controlled pass rushes, staying underneath the quarterback, keeping him in front of you, and then finishing when you have an opportunity. It's not like Arkansas's offensive line is dynamite. It's fine. But that's what you got to do. Because if you start getting up the field too quick, they'll draw you to death. They'll quarterback draw you to death, and he'll just break contain. Can't let him do that. Way, way too easy. So, Taylen Green, not the abject disaster we were forecasting back in August. Also not going to kill you. I think it's a different game plan for LSU this week than it has been the last few. Maybe going back to Lenora Sellers, and you let Sellers get going a little bit running the ball. So it's going to be a fascinating matchup. I think he's going to be healthy, and I think it changes the way that LSU has to play it, but we'll see. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.